Before any of this, America was something completely different. No cities, no United States, just endless wilderness and ancient tribes. For thousands of years, this land belonged to others. Then everything changed forever. Explorers from across the ocean had heard rumors. A new world. In 1492, 3 ships set sail. The crew had no idea they were about to discover a continent that would change human history. Before Europeans arrived, over 10 million Native Americans lived here, divided into hundreds of tribes. They had advanced societies. They weren't savages waiting to be civilized. The Iroquois Confederacy had a democratic system that would later inspire America's founding fathers. October 12, 1492, Christopher Columbus stepped onto what he thought was India. He was wrong. He claimed the land for Spain, never realizing he'd stumbled onto an entirely new continent. More Europeans followed. Spanish, French, English. They brought weapons, diseases, and ambition. European diseases killed 90% of Native Americans within a century. Smallpox, measles, typhus. By 1600, 3 European powers divided the continent. Spain controlled the south, France the middle, England the coast. 1607, England established Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English colony. Most settlers died within months. A Native American woman named Pocahontas helped them survive. Her real story was far different from the legend. Over the next century, 13 English colonies emerged, each with its own character, its own story.
The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, seeking religious freedom. They had no idea what winter would bring. Half of them died that first winter. Starvation, disease, cold, survival seemed impossible. Them to survive. How to grow corn, how to fish. Without this help, the colony would have vanished. The first Thanksgiving celebrated this survival, a moment of peace between 2 worlds about to collide.
In 1703, 13 colonies lined the coast, Virginia, New York, each with different rules, different religions.
Ford and the southern colonies built their wealth on slavery. Africans torn from their homes, forced into labor. Over 400,000 enslaved Africans were brought to America.
Britain needed money after fighting France. They decided the colonies should pay. Big mistake.
The Stamp Act taxed every piece of paper, newspapers, legal documents, even playing cards, without representation.
Colonists erupted in rage. No taxation without representation became their battle cry. Britain wasn't listening.
Formed the Sons of Liberty, a secret group planning resistance. Some called them patriots. Britain called them terrorists.
Paul Revere created an engraving of the massacre. It spread like wildfire. Propaganda that united colonists in fear.
16, 1773, Boston Harbor. Colonists disguised themselves as Mohawk Indians and boarded 3 British ships.
They destroyed 344 French and chess submarines teeming.
Furious. He sent more troops, closed Boston Harbor, made an example of the colony.
September 1777. Leaders from all 13 colonies met in Philadelphia.
They chose George Washington to lead their military, a Virginia plantation owner, experienced fighter. 1875, Paul Revere rode through the night. The British are coming. He warned every village. War was on. Lexington Green. British redcoats faced colonial Minutemen. 77 farmers against 700 trained soldiers. Lane 4. A shot rang out. Then chaos. The American Revolution had begun. The British marched back to Boston. Colonists fired from behind every tree, every wall. The Continental Army looked like beggars, not soldiers. Farmers with muskets facing the powerful military. Britain sent 30,000 professional soldiers, the finest army on earth. I called the colonists traitors. I ordered to destroy the rebellion completely. Benjamin Franklin. America's only hope was French gold, French guns, and French ships. British strategy. Split the colonies in 3. Isolate New England. Winter 1777. Valley Forge. Men froze without shoes. Starved without food. From cold, disease, and starvation. Desertions every night. The revolution was dying in the snow. Baron von Steuben arrived from Prussia. A professional soldier who trained freezing former like European. He drilled them. Bayonet fighting. Formation marching. Farmers became soldiers.
February 1710, Franklin's mission succeeded. France officially joined America's side.
French ships, French soldiers, French money. Battle of Monmouth, June 1778. Washington's trained army fought the British to a draw. Molly Pitcher carried water to soldiers in brutal heat. When her husband fell, she took his place at the cannon. Britain changed strategy, attacked the South where loyalists were strongest. It worked at first. They captured Savannah, then Charleston. But Southern fighters used guerrilla warfare. General Nathanael Greene took command in the South. He didn't try to win battles. He exhausted the British. Battle of Cowpens, January 1781. Americans used fake retreat to trap British. Nearly 90% of British forces killed. Lord Cornwallis retreated to Yorktown, Virginia. He waited for British ships to evacuate him, but French ships arrived first. French Admiral de Grasse defeated the British rescue fleet. Washington and French General Rochambeau besieged Yorktown. 17,000 Allied troops surrounding 8,000 British. October 19, 1781. After 3 weeks, Cornwallis surrendered. It truly had. News reached London in November. Parliament was shocked. The war was unsustainable. Britain had lost America. Peace negotiations lasted 2 years. Franklin, Adams, and Jay negotiated shrewdly. They got everything. Independence. September 3, 1783. The Treaty of Paris. Britain recognized the United States of America. December 1783. Washington stunned the world. He resigned his military power and returned to farming. Washington chose democracy over dictatorship. But winning independence didn't create a functioning nation. 13 states acted like 13 separate countries. 1786. Shays Rebellion. Massachusetts farmers, drowning in debt, attacked courthouses. May 1787. 12 states gathered in secret. Their mission: fix the government or watch America die. 55 men debated in secret for 4 months. Stakes couldn't be higher. James Madison studied every democracy in history. Greek, Roman, European, all had failed. He designed something new.
Big states wanted power by population. Small states demanded equal votes.
Roger Sherman proposed the Great Compromise, Senate and House.
They created 3 branches of government. Each could check the others. 1787. We the people, not we the states. Not we the government. Franklin, 81 years old, was asked what they'd created. His answer: a republic, if you can keep it. But would the states accept it? 9 of 13 needed to ratify.
New York's debate was brutal. Alexander Hamilton wrote 51 essays defending the Constitution.
June 21st, 1788. New Hampshire became the 9th state. The Constitution was law. April 30, 1789. George Washington became the first president, sworn in on a Bible.
James Madison kept his promise. 10 amendments protecting individual liberty from government power.
Washington assembled the first cabinet. Alexander Hamilton at Treasury. Thomas Jefferson at State.
Hamilton's plan: federal government assumes all state debts. Create a national bank. Build industry.
Jefferson wanted the opposite: agricultural nation of independent farmers. Small government, states' rights. America's first political parties emerged. Federalists led by Hamilton. Democratic Republicans by Jefferson. Whiskey Rebellion. Western farmers refused to pay Hamilton's whiskey tax. Attacked federal tax collector. Led 13,000 troops west. The rebellion collapsed without a shot. Message sent: this government would enforce its law.
Washington refused a third term. No president had ever voluntarily left power.
Became the second president, immediately faced crisis with France. They were seizing American ships.
French officials demanded bribes before negotiations. America was outraged. Millions for defense. Adams passed the Alien and Sedition Acts, made criticizing the government illegal. Jefferson called it tyranny.
Of 1800, Jefferson and Aaron Burr tied in Electoral College. The House voted 36 times over 6 days.
Finally, Jefferson won. Adams peacefully transferred power to his political enemy. No coup, no violence.
April 1803. Jefferson bought the Louisiana Territory from Napoleon. 828,000 square miles. $15 million. May 1804. Lewis and Clark departed St. Louis to explore this unknown territory. Sacagawea, a Shoshone woman, guided them through the Rockies, with her infant son on her back.
November 1805. They reached the Pacific, crossed an entire continent. 12. War with Britain again. They were impressing American sailors into the Royal Navy, seizing ships.
The USS Constitution shocked the world, destroyed British warships in one-on-one battles.
August 24, 1814. British troops entered Washington, D.C., burned the White House. September 13, 1814, Fort McHenry. British bombarded it for 25 hours straight.
Dawn, the flag still flew. Key wrote a poem on the back of a letter. Oh, say can you see?
January 8, 1815, Battle of New Orleans. Andrew Jackson's army hid behind cotton bales.
Irony, the battle occurred 2 weeks after the peace treaty was signed in Belgium. Andrew Jackson became America's biggest hero, a frontiersman who defeated the mighty British. 1815 to 1825, the era of good feelings.
President Monroe declared the Western Hemisphere off limits to European colonization.
Erie Canal completed. 363 miles connecting Great Lakes to Atlantic.
Westward migration exploded. Hundreds of thousands heading west in covered wagons.
The Industrial Revolution reached America. Factories replaced workshops. Steam power replaced water wheels. 1828. Andrew elected president. His supporters stormed the White House. Jackson declared war on the National Bank, called it corrupt, destroyed at. Indian Removal Act forced Cherokee from Georgia. 16,000 marched 1,000 miles in winter.
1,000 Cherokee died, 1/4 of the entire nation. America's expansion was built on ethnic cleansing.
April 1836, Battle of San Jacinto. Houston's Texans destroyed Santa Anna's forces in 18 minutes.
For 9 years, Texas was independent, its own country. But most Texans wanted to join America.
February 1848, Mexico lost 55% of its territory. January 24th, 1848, gold discovered in California. James Marshall found it at Sutter's Mill. The Gold Rush. 300,000 people flooded California in 2 years, from around the world. 1850, the Compromise. California entered as a free state. 1852, Harriet Beecher Stowe published Uncle Tom's Cabin. It exposed slavery. Harriet Tubman, called Moses, made 19 trips back into slave states, led over 70 people to freedom. 1854, Kansas-Nebraska Act lets settlers vote on slavery. John Brown raided Harper's Ferry Arsenal, planned to arm slaves for rebellion. Robert E. Lee's Marines captured Brown. He was tried and hanged. November 1860, Abraham Lincoln elected, opposed slavery's expansion. March 4th, 1861, Lincoln's inauguration. 7 states had already seceded. 7 states formed the Confederate States of America. Jefferson Davis became their president. 2 governments. April 12, 1861, Fort Sumter. Lincoln refused to abandon it. At 4:30 a.m., Confederate cannons opened fire. 34 hours of bombardment, 4,000 shells fired, the fort surrendered. Miraculously, no one killed. Both sides celebrated. Both expected quick victory. Young men rushed to enlist, afraid the war would end too soon. Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteers. Got them in weeks. The Confederacy got 100,000. After Sumter, 4 more states seceded. Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina. Lee resigned from U.S. July 1861, first Bull Run. Washington society packed picnics to watch. The Union Army broke and ran. Total panic. Soldiers threw away weapons. 900 dead in one afternoon. Both sides realized this wouldn't be quick or glorious. This would be hell. Lincoln appointed McClellan to command. Brilliant organizer. Trained a massive army. Robert E. Lee commanded Confederate armies. With half the men, he won battle after battle. March 1862, first ironclad battle, Monitor versus Virginia, 4 hours. McClellan moved toward Richmond with 120,000 men, but he was overcautious. April 1862, Battle of Shiloh. Grant nearly defeated first day. More Americans died at Shiloh than all previous wars combined.
September 1862, bloodiest single day in American history. 23,000 casualties.
Lincoln had waited for a Union victory. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation.
The war's meaning changed. No longer just about Union, now about ending slavery.
Enslaved people fled to Union lines by thousands.
Black soldiers could now join. 180,000 would serve.
Largest battle ever in North America. 160,000 soldiers. Lee invading North again. Day 3. Lee ordered 12,500 men to march 3/4 mile. Union artillery slaughtered them. Half were killed or wounded. The charge failed. 51,000 casualties in 3 days. Gettysburg was the high tide of the Confederacy.
Same day Lee retreated, Vicksburg surrendered to Grant.
November 1863, Lincoln dedicated Gettysburg Cemetery. 2 minutes, 272 words.
March 1864, Lincoln found his general, Grant, a man willing to fight.
Grant attacked Lee constantly. Wilderness, Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor, horrific casualty.
Grant lost 55,000 in 6 weeks. Newspapers called him the Butcher.
Sherman marched toward Atlanta. He pioneered total war. Destroy everything.
November 1864, Sherman's March, 60,000 soldiers.
Thousands of freed slaves followed his army.
Lee met Grant. Grant offered generous terms. Confederates could go home. Lee's soldiers stacked weapons. Union soldiers saluted them. 620,000 Americans dead. More Americans died in the Civil War than World War I, II, Korea, and Vietnam combined. April 1865, Good Friday. Lincoln attended Ford's Theater. Booth shot Lincoln in the head, jumped to stage yelling "Sic Semper Tyrannis," then escaped. Lincoln was carried across the street, never regained consciousness. April 15th, he died. The nation plunged into mourning. The man who saved the Union was murdered days after victory. 7 million Americans viewed his coffin, 1/3 of the North.